Live coming to you, broadcasting from West Virginia and Kentucky. This is the Blue Ribbon Podcast. I'm Chris. He's Larry. Brought to you by Pittsburgh Power. Larry's full of energy coming off a relaxing weekend in Chicago, celebrating 46 years of wedded bliss, which only proves that Mary Lou Long is a saint.
Absolutely. I can vouch to that.
So we're a day late here and a dollar short. We're usually on Sundays. This is Monday, but we had to make room for Larry's trip and his anniversary. So we didn't have much of a real topic scheduled for tonight. So this is just kind of be an open show and let it go where it goes.
It's the open topic, open mic night.
Yeah. So we'll kind of let y'all run the show tonight, whatever questions you have. We had a question come in from Facebook this weekend, and
Can I interrupt?
We'll go over that. Yeah. Well, yeah. Go ahead.
Like and subscribe.
Please like and subscribe. It's really important. Helps the algorithm.
Yeah.
Algorithm and the ones and the zeros.
Let's us charge more money,
Right.
for doing this every week, So
Yeah. Well, I had a weekend, orientating a new driver.
Orientating? That's
orientating.
Is that a word?
Indoctrinating.
Orienting.
I like orientating. I like that a lot better. Has more syllables. Here in West Virginia, we usually do away with syllables. I figured I'd add a couple, make it up the difference. I
had a guy, the dry cleaning business. We typically hire
easy
minimum wage folk. Okay,
right.
He said, "Now these pair of pants here, they need to be alterated." I said, "Do they now? Yeah. Can we just alter them? Maybe could they just be altered? Maybe an altered state?"
When
the customer said they need to be alterated.
So. When my father-in-law built my mother-in-law's house that she's living in now, back in 2014, he brought this beautiful wood flooring. I mean, it's gorgeous. And he stacked it all up, and they said, "Well, when are you gonna put that down?" And he goes, "Well, I gotta let it get alienated for a while." And we said, "What?" He said, "Alienated." I said, "Acclimated?" He said, "Yeah, close enough."
So can I put a picture of me and my lovely bride? Can you get that in there somewhere?
You can.
Can I do that?
See. Well, let me think about it. Well, let me
It's
think
on my
about
desktop.
It is on your desktop. Okay. Open it up on your desktop.
All right. It's a
JPEG. And then hit share. And it should give you an option. You've got share screen down there, right?
Got it.
Okay. Hit share screen.
All right.
And then it should give you an option for a window, and you should see the window there that has that picture in it.
Yeah.
And then hit share. There it is. Well, that's your whole screen, but that's close enough.
Everybody, that's Mary Lou.
There you go. Let's make it bigger. How have you kept her roped into this for 46 years?
I ask myself that frequently. Hey, the kid cleans up pretty good, doesn't he, though?
Huh? Well, not too bad.
Is there a way I can zoom in on that?
Well,
not easily.
No, not easily.
Okay.
Well, you're about to listen. You're just about to get out of control. Right. You better quit while you're ahead.
I'll stop.
Okay. Well, let's get to this question because this could take a minute. But it is a great question. We got a Facebook Messenger question. And I did away with his name, so I apologize for that. I would appreciate it if you could talk some about what to look for or avoid when leasing to a company. I don't qualify for Landstar since my OTR isn't recent enough. I know that since you guys are at Landstar and it works for you, that you will lean that way, but I'm sure there are others like me that listen in. In all my searching, I can't find anybody talking about leasing on where they are not talking about a lease purchase. I have a paid-for lunatic truck. Nobody is talking about leasing on when you already own a truck. I have a couple regional companies interested, and I want to be educated as I can be as I move forward. So I have the experience of being leased to Anderson and Landstar. You have the experience of being leased to what was it, UPS and
Transport America,
and
GPS Freight,
UPS Freight, and what was that moving company we can't ever remember? United, Allied,
Atlas.
And the process is
and FedEx Custom Critical,
right. Oh yeah,
and Transport America.
Right.
So
the process is generally very similar. In my experience with both ATS and Landstar, they wanted an inspection of the truck first. The truck had to pass a DOT inspection. So when Landstar does it, it has to be at a Landstar approved location. Anderson did it with a bunch of crooks at a Freightliner dealership that they owned. So they're going to want a clean inspection. They're going to want a copy of your there he is, Matthew. I'm not going to try to butcher your last name. They're going to want a copy of the 2290. They're going to want an inspection. They're probably going to maybe want to see some insurance unless insurance is part of the package like it is here at Landstar. Once you're leased on, your truck's insured, bobtail, physical damage, and then they carry the cargo. They will want to see a copy of the title. Obviously your qualifications as the driver. And then whatever other, but you need to know who's going to pay for the plate. Is the plate a part of your percentage? There are some carriers that'll pay mileage, but they'll pay all your plates and permits. Here we pay for the plate. I think it's $18.50, and then 16 something. I can't remember. But we pay for the plate, and then we pay $200 a year for permits. So you need to ask them as a part of the contract that I suggest you read before you sign it. Would probably be a good idea. I mean, I know most people don't do that because that's just dumb. Why would you read a contract that you're going to sign?
Here's the hard. I don't think he's concerned about the mechanics of how to lease it on. I think what he's getting at is, how do you decide? How do you choose? What criteria do you look at to choose one carrier over another?
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard Kevin talk about it for years and years and years. About it's almost like a reverse interview. You have to go to them. You have to sit down and interview them and ask them, all these questions. Because you're getting ready to start a relationship that you're going to sign a lease agreement to do that. But here's what I find is really, really hard to do. And that is to compare two different carriers, because it's really hard to compare the apples and the apples and the oranges and the oranges, because so much of it is mingled together. And let me give you an example. Okay. I see a lot of carriers that talk about how they pay for IFTA. Okay. I've never, ever seen a carrier that actually pays for IFTA. They'll say that, but what they mean is they're not going to pass on the overage or the shortage to you after the IFTA report is filed. Now, that's a far different cry than saying I'm going to pay IFTA, because when you buy fuel, every gallon you pump in your truck has an IFTA charge attached to it. Now, I've never seen a carrier ever write me a check back for one of those. Oh, here's your money back for all the IFTA you paid for. So those are the kinds of things that you have to just make a comparison, and you have to be able to separate all these things that are bundled. Okay. Because one company, a lot of people come to Landstar and talk about how they nickel and dime you. All right. Well, here's the other thing about that, and we'll talk about Landstar because that's what we know. But we know that when you come to Landstar, you're going to sacrifice 35% of the revenue that the load carries in exchange for X, Y, Z, and A, B, C. Okay. You have to look at another carrier that says, oh, we're going to give you 80% of revenue, but here's what you have to do. So you have to put a value on all those things and see that 80% of that number is better than 65% of this one's number. So that's what takes the work. And that's what you have to actually sit down and compare each individual thing unbundled, so that you can compare the value or the cost. And some of this is going to require you having to go out and shop it, because if we're going to throw in a benefit, like for example, I don't know, um, trailer rental. Okay, in
Mm-hmm.
Landstar, we don't pay for trailer rental, but we pay 35% of the load. So you have to look and say, okay, you're going to get 8% of the load over here, but you're going to have to pay $200 a month or a week or whatever for the truck. So all that has to be unbundled, and a value has to be added to each line item, so that when it's all said and done, then you can see what the difference is. And that's just the money part of it. But that's certainly not everything. I mean, you've heard me say over and over and over and over and over again, I would never be anywhere but Landstar. But there's a lot of things about Landstar that I call them out on. I'm not the Pollyanna that some of the people on the Landstar Facebook pages are.
Mm-hmm.
I've said over and over again, I'll never win the truck. They'll never, ever see me in the 5 finalists of getting the truck. Okay. Because they damn sure don't want to take a chance on me winning. So, even with that being said, the benefits far outweigh the things that I don't like about Landstar. Now, unlike other people, I don't come to Landstar and be here 3 weeks and come up with all these ideas about how to fix it. It's worked fine before I got here. It's working fine since I've been here. I've just learned how to work inside the system. So you have to just put a number to each of the different aspects of the relationship. And then at the end of the day, it's not always about the money anyway, because there's, as you well know, there's lots of people that come to us that make more money somewhere else, but they're not happy. They're horribly
Mm-hmm.
upset, and they'd be willing to do anything and make less money to have a better situation. So it's all said and done is how they treat you. If you're talking to a recruiter and his lips are moving, you know what he's doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, have to understand that, talk to drivers, don't talk to recruiters, talk to dispatchers if you can, don't talk to recruiters. But
And ask to see the contract.
absolutely, absolutely. And ask to take it with you. If they will not release it out of the room, run.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Run. There's a reason why they don't want you to take it somewhere else and read it or have it read, because there's stuff in there that you would not sign if your lawyer saw it. So, and if you don't understand it, go pay a lawyer a couple $100 to read it to you. Okay. It would be a lot better than signing a 39-page lease agreement and then 2 weeks later get on Facebook and bitch about why Landstar does this and why Landstar does that. And why don't they since fuel's so high, why don't they give us the bigger part of the percentage,
Mm-hmm.
And here's the other thing, most carriers besides Landstar, I'm going to say most because I don't know all of them, but most of them, there are support networks there that, let me just say it this way. The biggest reason that people either fail at Landstar or come here and end up not liking it is because at Landstar there is no support network. Okay. And let me use this analogy. When you're in high school or, any kind of school up until the time you get your high school diploma, the teachers care about you. They take attendance. If you're not there, they ask you where you are. If you're not doing your homework, the counselor comes in and talks. There's all this help when you're struggling. When you leave high school and go to college and you're in a lecture hall of 300 and 400,000 people, they could give a rat's ass less if you're there or not.
Mm-hmm.
If you're getting an F, they're not going to call you up and ask you, hey, what's wrong? How come you're not doing? Because now you're a grown ass person and you're in college, and it's survival of the fittest. That's exactly what college is designed to do, is weed out the people who ought not be there. And it's really not that any different than Landstar. Landstar, if you read the contract, you're an independent contractor, a business doing business with a business. There is no tissue paper. There is no person to wipe your nose. There is none of that. But because that's not, when you go hire somebody to come work on something at your home, you don't provide that for them. They trip and fall outside in your driveway. You don't run out there and put a Band-Aid on their knee. You better be calling your insurance agent to make sure they're not going to sue your ass. But I understand what the relationship is that you're getting into. That's as important to me as the money. And then look at what's the ceiling? What's the ceiling?
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that we love about Landstar is that there is no see. We are the only one that sets the ceiling. And the every other carrier that I look at, you have to deal with somebody that gives you loads, except Landstar. Even the Schneider Selects and all that. I've seen it all. But at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the day, you do not have the ability to book any load you want at any time you want and stack as many as you want. Okay. And
Correct.
so that's the other part to me is that I do not want to be relying on any other individual to control my revenue except for me. Okay. And the only place I can find that is at Landstar. So back to your question, I would do the best job you can to find a carrier that gets you through the rest of your over the road experience requirements. And I would leave the day you get it and come to Landstar. And if you need help, call us and we'll mentor you through it. Okay.
Yep.
So that's how I would answer that. All right. I've been
Here's
talking and not
here's
reading.
something else. Here's something else I'm going to add to that. When you understand your value, which is your service, right? Your value is in your service to the customer. And in most cases, if you're leased to a carrier, that carrier is your customer or their agent is your customer. Okay. And you understand your value. If you go into them understanding what your value is and your value is service, you have an opportunity to talk to them and see if the presentation of that value perks them up and gets them interested. Can we just be on? Listen, I hesitate to say this because I don't want to sound like the jerk that it makes me sound like, but a lot of people are stupid. And it doesn't take a lot to separate yourself. So I think there's a high probability that you can go into any carrier, any company, and the smaller the better, that you can walk in with an air of service and an air of humility and say, look, what can I do and how can I help you serve your customer is going to do wonders for how your relationship with that carrier customer is built. Whereas if in the opposite, you go in like most truck drivers do, the access to the universe runs through the top of your precious little head. Hey, what you going to do for me?
What are you going to do for me?
Right.
Yeah. That's the thing that and again, I don't need to brag. I don't, but at Transport America, it was so easy to set myself apart from everybody else. For one thing, the very first, I don't know if I ever told you this or not, but at Transport America, you have a badge. You have a name badge, okay? And it's got your picture on it. So when you go into a customer, you're supposed to clip that on to identify you as Transport America and the truck number and everything. Well, as a professional photographer, they lined everybody up and took a Polaroid picture at orientation. So the first thing I did was I got a hold of the people at headquarters and said, can I supply you with my photo instead of you using theirs? Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I sent that black and white picture that we've used before, and now here's the other thing. And as a dispatcher at Transport America, when you bring up a driver, that picture pops up.
Oh, okay.
So every time anybody had any contact with me, they saw a professional portrait versus a Polaroid. Okay. So automatically there's this conversation. Wow. How'd you get that picture? So, I mean, that's a minor little thing, but it's an example of what I'm talking about, setting yourself apart from everybody else, because that's what, and then the other thing is do everything you can to make yourself valuable. At Transport America, you weren't required to have hazmat. You didn't have to go to Canada. All these things you didn't have to do. But if you did that, and your dispatcher knew that, hey, O'Lear will take care of me, guess what happened when O'Lear needed something, So making yourself valuable to the customer, and let's face it, when you're leased onto a carrier, your customer is the carrier. That's your customer. So making yourself valuable to your customer is a secret handshake to success.
And let's not lose focus of the fact that service is important above all else, because if there was a contest at Landstar for who has the ugliest truck, we're in the top 5, because we do have in our fleet. Sorry, Rocky. it probably would win. Okay. So, well, my truck's pretty, no, you know, we're going to paint it pink and purple just like she asked us to.
No, it'd be with purple flames, pink
Purple
with
flames,
purple
right?
flames.
Pink with
Yeah,
purple flames.
yeah.
Um,
With spray cans, not even going to the body shop, just
right,
Rust-Oleum.
right. Hey, they got those super cans now. You know,
Yeah.
that's number
We
one.
could even paint that hammered stuff. You know, that hammered, it
Oh
looks
yeah.
like it's hammered. We should do that.
Well, let me give you a real world scenario. This week, we had a driver had a challenging week last week, and on Thursday, I booked him a $3,800 load for the weekend. Now, our minimum threshold for a weekend load is $3,000, so we were $800 above. Everybody was happy. Deliver Monday morning and move on to the next thing. And he got there this morning, and he texted me, and he was like, "Man, these people have no idea what I'm talking about. Like they don't have a PO number. They don't, they can't figure out where to put this stuff." So we made some phone calls, and turns out that instead of Oklahoma, just southwest of Oklahoma City, this load needed to go to Pasadena, Texas. So our $3,800 load that seemed to solve all of our problems turned into a nightmare real quick. Now, I have seen all of the commentary on Facebook. When's Landstar going to do something about these agents? What's the agent going to do when the customer gave him the wrong, not even the wrong address, the wrong state? They sent us to the wrong state. So they said, "Well, what do you want for this additional 420 miles?" And I said, "Well, let's start at 2,500.
Let's get out the BSE 9000 and see what the answer to that question is.
I said, "Well, let's start at 2,500. We got down to 1,500. Okay. Well, I had been looking for a $1,500 load all day and couldn't find jack out of that particular spot in Oklahoma City. So we ended up with $1,500 to take it to Pasadena. We're going to unload it in the morning. Now the load pays $5,300, and I booked a direct customer load right behind it, paying $4,000 for 2 days. So hey, right. But yeah, agents do occasionally do dumb stuff. Yeah, but somebody had put a post up the other day in one of the groups that said we need a rating system. And I said, let me promise you that BCOs do not want a rating system. Okay. Yeah. Just no. And one guy decided to be a smart ass, and he's like, well, you want to get, and I said, you listen, trust me, you don't want a rating system. It's not going to go how you think it's going to go. There's 1,400 of them and 10,000 of y'all. Play the odds.
You're ready to poke the bear because the guy who wrote that's watching right now.
Oh, is he?
Yes, he is. He's actually already commented about something else in the comments, so I'll let him identify himself if he wants to. But
okay,
the person who authored that post is in the audience. So,
well, that just ain't going to go the way you think it's going to go, you know. But and aside from all that, when I go to Google reviews of anything, you have to weight it. Because happy people that have good experiences don't normally leave reviews. It's always the angry people. And so you have to grade that on a curve and go, okay, well, there's 17 reviews and 15 of them are terrible, and there's 3 positives. Well, I've got to put a multiplier on the positives because there's plenty of happy people that don't make comments, you know. So anyway,
and you got the ulterior. He was comparing it to eBay, and there's an ulterior motive here. By people that would use that as they would weaponize that. Is what would go wrong with that?
Oh,
and
100%.
It would go both ways.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like you're dealing with just people that just happen to wander into a restaurant, didn't like it or did like it, and moved on with their life. You're talking about people whose livelihood depends on this,
Mm-hmm.
So it's a slippery slope. I agree. But going back to Matthew's thing again, understand, Matthew, you're the valuable commodity here. You're the person here that brings value. Okay. So I would make sure that that whoever you end up doing business with, they appreciate that value. If not, move on, because there's many. And you,
Mm-hmm.
like Chris said, I probably would suggest you try to go to a small fleet because I promise you they will value you. And
And lunatic trucks have not inflated, have a greater value right now
well,
because
knowing
people,
knowing
in
that, but you can't lease on lunatic trucks in many fleets.
right.
There's going to be a restriction there as well. So
But I'm talking about in the small fleets. I'm seeing, Gentry's a great example of that. I'm seeing people that are going to customers and saying, "Well, hey, I got a whole fleet here of trucks that aren't going to break down, and
right,
aren't going to wait 6 months on parts. So if you want your freight delivered, um, get us with our 1986 GMC, and we'll take care of you." So
sure.
um, there's a lot of that going on out there, and but apples and apples and orange and orange. That's such a great thing that needs to be highlighted more because, as you've said many times, and I 100% agree with you, there's no other place that I would want to do what we do than Landstar. It provides us a great opportunity and a great environment to do what we want to do, when we want to do it, and how we want to do it
Without a ceiling. That's the thing.
without a ceiling.
Without a ceiling.
But I'm I can't speak with absolute authority, but I have a very strong belief that there are small trucking companies that nobody's ever heard of that have a great management team, that have a great service record, that have a well-run operation that a person could lease their truck to, and probably make apples and apples money. You know, Nobody's ever heard of them, and you're not going to walk out the front door and stumble over them. You're going to have to look and look and look and search under every rock. But I promise you, just based on the numbers of how many millions of or hundreds of thousands of trucking companies and MC numbers are, there are people out there doing it correctly. And if they're doing it correctly, and you go and do it correctly with them, it's just, how do you find them? Trial and error. How are you going to find places like that? We know that Landstar has the brand recognition and the systems put in place that if you want to come here and do it, you can come here and do it.
Well, and then the purchasing power. You've got
Right.
you've got the LCAP and you've got the accommodated fuel card. And we know that's there's nothing else that compares to that. So that's the other thing, is being able to come here and lower your. It's all about cost of doing business, and we know that coming here, you're going to get the best fuel discounts that you can get, and you're going to get the best tire prices you're going to get. If you're a platform guy, you're going to get the best price on whips and chains and all the other things you do in the dungeon when you're a platform guy. And it's just that buying power is worth a lot of money. I mean, look, fuel is your number one cost. You've heard that before, right? So if you can put a serious dent on that with a discount, that we get here. Then the second closest thing I found to that is the NASTC card. So if you're going to do that, look into NASTC. It's maybe instead of the company's card you're going to use. So,
Comment from Phil: I just reset the check engine lights on a new Peterbilt that the owner can't get parts for, and I sold him a gallon of max mileage.
There you go. Good for you. What's Clarence asking about?
Hey, where's the TA Petro? So I had a conversation with a guy this week from TA Petro. I called the customer service number and I said, she's like, "Well, how can I help you?" And I said, "Well, I just have two questions. I wanted to see if you could run up the corporate ladder and see if anybody wants to do anything with it." She said, "What are they?" I said, "Why do you hate your customers and why do you hate money?" And she was like, "Well, I don't think that's true." And I said, "You're going to have a hard time convincing me otherwise."
Oh.
And so we talked for a minute, and she's like, "Well, I'll have somebody call you." And I'm like, "Yeah, sure you will."
Yeah, right.
So
right.
I'm sitting down for lunch with my daughter, and the phone rings, and it's this guy. And apparently he's been hired to deal with some of these things. And we had an interesting conversation. And we both recognize the problem. The problem is
he'll be gone by next week if that's 100%. What he was hired to do.
Yeah. But we both recognize that there's a staffing problem. There's a quality of staffing issue that everybody's having right now and has been for the last few years. But I said, listen, if I treated my customers the way y'all treat me, I wouldn't be in business. you're going to have to address, and I used your line. I said, you're going to have to address the fact that all of your customers are captive because they just happen to break down within a radius of your shop. And now you're the only fool that anybody can deal with. And so you've got them and they're not going anywhere because towing is too expensive. And so y'all take advantage of that and treat people like dirt and run business off. I'm like, I can't, I'm not in a position to do that. I can't just tell everybody to piss off. And, so it was a good conversation. I feel sorry for him for the job he's got to do.
Well, that's true until it's not. I used to have that same conversation, and I've told you about this, with the Yellow Pages directory salespeople. Okay. And I promised them, I said, I promise you, there will come a time when I can tell you to kiss my ass, and I'm going to tell it to you. And lo and behold, who uses the Yellow Pages anymore?
Nobody.
Who has a landline anymore? So I could collectively tell every one of those people, kiss my ass. And that's what we're going to tell T.A. Petro sooner or later. Okay.
Well, and
Somebody's going to come up with the answer to that. And boy, you talk about a business opportunity right now. Okay.
Well, and I told him, I said, here's what you need to understand. There was a time when a driver would call me broke down somewhere, hey, I'm broke down. And there's chill would run through my spine because I was going to have to basically call somebody at random off the internet. And who knows what's going to show up. And I said, but do you know in the last 2 or 3 years, I've had more good experiences with some random guy off the internet than I have at the TA or Petro?
Absolutely.
Maybe it's because people like Carl have told y'all to pound sand and figured out that if they just have a truck and a trailer and a bunch of tools, they can go out and make a killing, make 4 or 5 or 10 times what you guys are willing to pay them and do a better job. So
and take care of the customer.
Yeah.
Y'all have heard us tell the story many times where Carl would work all night taking care of their customer. He'd run home because he lives an hour away. He'd run home to take a shower and get changed to a fresh uniform, come back, might be 5 minutes late, and they write him up.
Yep.
Nice job, T.A. Petro. Nice job. Clarence, thank you for making my blood pressure go up.
Well, by the way, everyone keep Carl in your thoughts. He's having some health issues right now. And it's hard to see the strongest man I've ever known. But he's having a tough go. And of course, he's stubborn as a bull.
Yep.
But y'all keep him close because he's got a long way to go.
He needs your prayers, guys. He needs your prayers. He's got some things to deal with that going to be tough to overcome. So,
and this brings up an opportunity. Whenever you run into those guys now, we ran into a Saint down somewhere in Georgia. One of our guys went into a scale and got put out of service. And there was a guy there, and of course we can't leave. And I'm thinking, there was a bunch of stuff, some suspension stuff. And I thought, oh my God, this bill's going to be $1 million. So he gets everything addressed and sends me a bill for $520. And I'm like, holy shit.
And he knew he had us over the barrel.
Oh, had us absolutely.
We were out of service. Okay. Out of service. Having just had an inspection. Not very long before at a TA and Petro.
Yep.
And now we're out of service 2 or 3 weeks later.
Yep. So, but when you see these guys, and I see the post in social media every once in a while, people are like, hey, if you're ever in this area, talk to such and such. But it's crazy over the last 4 or 5 years, the really good experiences that we've had just calling somebody at random. They come up, they show up, they do the job. They don't try to rip us off. So yeah, but I feel a lot better with going to truckdown.com and just start calling people,
And not the one with the 4 stars. Yeah. Go down to the ones that don't have the stars. Okay.
Yep.
The other thing too is, just lost my train of thought. Oh, I know what it was. If you're going to have a ranking system, rank that.
Oh yeah.
If you want to rank something, get a Facebook group or come up with some way of letting people put the names, addresses, and phone numbers of positive shop experiences and consolidate that and alphabetize it and everything so it could be a resource. That would be a great idea there if someone wants to, take that upon themselves. I don't have time, but if you want to have a ranking system, do that. You know, sounds like a
Oh,
good idea though, doesn't it?
yeah, it does. Phil, I walked into AutoZone the other night to get some parts for a car I was working on. Turns out the guy working
Wait a
the
minute, wait a
counter.
minute, wait a minute. Phil said he walked in. I bet he stumbled in.
He probably strutted in. Um, uh, Turns out the guy working at the counter is also the shop manager at the Petro in Dodge City, Alabama. We had a very interesting conversation about customers bringing in their own parts. Turns out big companies were buying the parts straight from Daimler cheaper than TA Petro could buy them and then expect the TA Petro to warranty the parts when they put them on. So you can blame the big box ATA type companies. It got cut off, but yeah, I call it the AFA because I take the TR off of trucking and put an F in there. That's what I think about the American Trucking Association.
Yeah.
Well, and and I told this guy, this TA guy, I said, look, I don't expect to go into a random TA Petro and have the relationship that I have with the TA and Hurricane. That relationship's been built over years. But please stop telling me to fuck off as soon as I call you, because that's basically what's happening. Yeah, we'll get to you when we get to you. Or you try to use that app and do the ETA. Well, we don't do that here. Well, you're a TA, aren't you?
We had a guy this week that was going to be a 34-hour reset in a TA.
Mm-hmm.
He called ahead and say, "Hey, I need 4 shocks. Why don't you guys get them together? I'll be there." And they said, "No, we can't do it till you get here." He said, "I'll give you my credit card number right now on the phone."
Nope.
Get the shocks. Nope, can't do it till you get here. Well, let me go ahead and get my appointment line. Nope, can't do it till you get here. Now, how would it have hurt them to take the guy's credit card number and buy 4 friggin' shocks and have him laying there, with his credit card number? Was going to also was going to reserve a parking. I mean, it makes no sense whatsoever. Makes no sense.
Now, I will tell you something this guy said, and it was interesting that he presented it this way. He said, you got to understand that there are people, and he said Landstar's the worst offender, that will set up an ETA on the app at 4 different shops at the same time and see whichever one they get to.
Oh, not the angelic BCOs. The ones that have halos on top of the truck
yeah.
they're driving that street? No.
Yeah. And he said, and I said, well, listen, I get that. I deal with BCOs all the time. I know what you're talking about. He said, but when you got a guy that's offering to give you a credit card number, he's not going to dick you around. Just go get the damn parts and help the guy out. So we hurt each other, but he ain't going to fix it and I ain't going to fix it. Well, I'm fixing it by not using them.
I wouldn't go out and buy stock this week, and I don't think it's going to change.
Yeah. Well, there was some guy years ago. I was some political philosopher or something, and I can't remember the guy's name, but they said something about who would you want to entrust to the government. He said, I would rather randomly pick somebody from the first 400 names in the Boston phone book. Just give me a name. Just pull a name, right? Rather than anybody that signs up to do it.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel with truck. It's just give me somebody at random. I'm probably going to do a better job with some random guy with a truck and a trailer than I am a brand name shop, be it the dealership or a truck stop.
I agree. Somebody asked you a question, how much you spend on truck maintenance a year? Well, it depends. If you're talking about routine maintenance, historically, a lunatic truck is about 15 cents a mile. But we're in the business here of having people bring trucks on that we turn them into lunatic trucks. So you can't really count that because that's sort of a service, revamp. So those can get quite expensive the first year, But when you're looking at just routine maintenance, we're looking at about 15 cents a mile. Has been our historical data since 2009.
Could you quickly and easily bring up the numbers on 833? Would that be possible for you to do? Just
No,
or
because I don't log those numbers because it's Zeke's numbers, not my numbers.
okay.
So
Right. Well, I was
I don't,
thinking about that truck.
not privy to that. So
So that truck was bought for $5,000, and it took about 40, including the acquisition cost, to get it on the road. Right. So he was at 40 getting it started.
now wait a minute, he paid 5 for it, and he had 40 in it when we got it rolling and
Right.
making money.
So he spent 5 plus 35.
right.
Right. So he spent a total of $40,000 from acquisition to the first load.
Yeah.
And I can only think of one, what we would kind of call major repair, and that was the drive shaft. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of everything else has been an air compressor or an AC air condenser or something,
Normal
But
expected stuff.
I would assume that truck is well below the 15-cent ongoing maintenance, routine maintenance. But good God, we changed everything from the turbo to the tail, everything on the truck was replaced but the engine.
Now you can go to ATBS. They've got some numbers industry wide.
Mhm.
They're going to be a whole lot. I had them at the reset at the live event. Do you remember what the number was I had?
I do not.
I'll do a little research here and try see if I can get you an answer to that. So
It should be somewhere around 20 grand.
Yeah.
Over a 5-year period, it's probably going to average out because you're going to have some major repairs in there. You're going to have a power divider or a clutch.
Well, if
Or
it's
hell, even
if it's a mission truck, it could be that much in 2 years. I mean,
well, hell yeah, yeah.
so
The one
we're
box
talking
is
about
yeah. But for a lunatic truck,
Yeah.
and of course, right now, the price of the used trucks are so inflated. We had a guy buy one, and it was 22 just to obtain the damn thing. And then it needed a motor, and it needed this, and it needed that, and so, he's probably 60 into it now. But if he'd have bought it the same way Zeke went, he'd have been $17,000. He'd have been in right around that same 40,000, which is the number you've always used, about 40 grand. Acquire it and get it lunaticked up, get it tires, get it aligned, get fuel mileage modifications on it. About 40 grand is where you should be if you buy the truck right. Now the prices, I'm seeing the prices come down. They're not down where they need to be yet.
No, but there's some out there. I saw a couple this week that were reasonable.
Well, let's bring this up. Rocky. The stuff that Rocky is the North Florida MD alignment guy. Owns one of our truck owners, partners. The stuff I see on trucks and trailers that passed an annual inspection recently is insane. Many with multiple out of service violations. The pre-trip that you're taught in truck driving school is inadequate. Okay. It's not even close. If you're going to be a truck operator, you're going to have to educate yourself. You're going to have to understand the systems of the truck that you're operating. You may not be able to turn the wrenches to change them. You probably don't have the tools to make those repairs. But you've got to understand where your spring bushings are. You got to understand how many shocks you got, where they are, and how to identify that you have a leaking wheel seal, or that you have a brake cammed over that's not even touching the damn drum. You've got to understand that stuff. And in 2022, there's no excuse. I mean, my God, there's a million YouTube videos that shows you this stuff in great detail. You don't have to be a mechanic anymore to see the things in the exploded view when they're taken all apart. You've got to do that research, and you've got to know when you have a problem. But Rocky's right. I mean, it's insane how bad a shape. We've had trucks come into us that we haven't seen for a few months, and it's like, we had one where the headlight bulb was gone. It wasn't burned out. It was gone. How do you lose a headlight bulb and not know it? But I digress.
So, for those of you that didn't come to the event, first of all, shame on you, you missed it. But I did find my slide, Chris. I'm going to share the screen.
Okay.
So here is the comparison in cost. Is there any way I can make that bigger? I guess not.
Hit the play button and see what happens.
I think it makes it go on both
It makes
screens.
it go. Oh,
Does that work?
looky there.
Does that work? Okay.
Yep.
So can you see my pointer?
I cannot.
Can you see it over here?
You'll just
Okay.
have to talk about it.
All right. So this is a 3-year comparison, 2019, 2021, and 2022. Okay. This is the typical cost of doing business in a truck. Now, this is not lunatic trucks. This is from ATBS. Okay. Some research I did. All right. So in 2019, fuel was, as you can see, $2.58 to $3.05. Insurance was about 7 cents. Now, these are probably for guys that aren't leased to carriers. All right. And maintenance, 20 cents a mile. Equipment cost for a 3-year-old truck was 69 grand. So 2021, the best year in history of trucking. Fuel cost was $2.68 to $3.64. Insurance, 9. Maintenance, 22 cents. And the average 3-year-old used truck was 95,000. This year in 2022, the fuel at the time I did this, which was in July or August the 17th, fuel was $5.57. Insurance was 9 cents a mile, and then maintenance per mile ATBS. Then this is across 20,000 owner operators, not leased to carriers, was 26 cents a mile, and equipment cost was 136,000. So that should answer your question about what's the typical cost to drive a truck for a regular truck. So
now, what was that? 120,000 miles? You think?
100,000 miles.
100,000. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and something I've been thinking a lot about. I talked to one of our mentoring clients the other day, and I said, "Hey, man, how you doing with your accounting?" And he started stumbling and mumbling. And I said, "Well, where are you between the scale of an A and an F?" He's like, "Well, I'm probably a D minus." Folks, you got to know your numbers. And there's only one way you're going to know your numbers, and that's to do proper bookkeeping and accounting. And, if you do it, if you set it up correctly from the beginning, 2 hours a week, maybe?
Oh, not even that.
Not even that.
I mean, I got 14 trucks. I mean, but even on Wednesday when I do the accounting, in 14 trucks, I'm done in probably 3 or 4 hours at the most, and then of course I spend the rest of the day paying drivers and paying owners, but the accounting itself, I can do it in probably, I could probably do it in about 2 hours, if I were,
when I did mine
uninterrupted,
I was using profit gauges. And I could enter my settlement, and I could enter in any other expenses and do my fuel reconciliation in about 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So
it's a little more involved with QuickBooks because you got the double entry and all the balance sheet accounts. But still, I can do 14 trucks in a couple hours.
And we have an accounting program that we can help you with. And I've got some ideas I'm going to share with Larry later on how we can improve that and make that more accessible to people. Because look, I get it. I've driven, I've done the 3,500 mile weeks and try to get home and do a restart, and life's hectic and loads are happening and you're trying to book loads. It's hectic, but it all comes down to habits, and that's what we beat into our guys every day. Create the habits now so that when you get in your truck, nothing's got to change except where the money goes. But, you've got to, if you don't know how to do a spreadsheet, you need to learn. And
for most guys, it's not the accounting. It's just keeping the data, recording every fuel. I mean, there's just so many things that they're not in the habit of doing. And so the accounting is impossible. Accounting is just, it's just history. That's all it is. It's tracking history. But if you don't have the data to track it with, it's impossible, So it's not, there's nothing, listen, it's not that. We shouldn't even use the word accounting because it's really not, on the level that you guys are going to be, it's bookkeeping.
Yeah.
you're still going to use an accountant to do your accounting.
Kevin's got a question here. Hey guys, I'm on the hunt for a lunatic truck. I found an '07 Columbia with a Series 60, 700,000 miles on it that runs and drives. I got the guy down to 10,000 for the truck. The problem is I don't know a mechanic personally well enough that I can take with me to look it over. Is there a minimum price you would pay that would be worth the risk to pull the trigger on it?
Yeah, $10,000.
Yeah, write him a check.
Well, I'd ask one more question. What's the rear end ratio?
Yeah. You need to know. You need to know what transmission is in it, and you need to know what the gears are. But in this market, if an '07 Columbia truly has 700,000 miles on it, I'm going to look. Well, here's what I'm going to do. All right, I'm going to get in it, and I'm going to turn the key on, and I'm going to go to if it's a Columbia, I'm going to go to that little button by the odometer. And I'm going to push that button 3 or 4 times until I see the ECM mileage, because you can change the odometer, the cluster, and that odometer could have been changed. And I did that one time. I went to look at a truck and of course had a blown head gasket and all kinds of stuff. And I pushed that button and I showed the guy selling it. I'm like, dude, this truck's got 1.8 million on it. What? Here's the ECM mileage. It had almost 2 million miles on it, and the head gasket was blown. But even still, in this market, $10,000 for an '07 Columbia, if it's got an overdrive transmission with 358s or a direct drive with 267s,
264s,
or 264s, write him a check and haul ass before somebody else gets it.
Yeah, I would. In this market, 10 grand, I'd just buy it. Now, the 3 things that I would want to know is the EGR deleted. What's the transmission model number, so I can get the ratio off of it, and what's the gear ratio? Mm-hmm. Because but at 10 grand, okay, there's enough good parts on it to be worth 10 grand, even if you had to change all that right there. But if you're going to turn that into an operating truck and the EGR is deleted, there's $8,000 right now to undelete the delete. Okay, the 2 gears are going to cost you about 6 grand if they're wrong. The transmission probably we probably can make the gears match the transmission, not have to mess with it, or vice versa. We can put 5 or 6 in a transmission and keep the gears. But
he says it's in Pontiac, Michigan, and it has a 10-speed Eaton. He doesn't know the ratio. I will tell you, though, from a truck that was just bought from Wisconsin, if you take it to Rocky, you will hear Rocky complaining, wanting to know how long it sat at the bottom of the ocean when he went to put bushings and stuff in it.
Because we salt. Yeah. Here's the other thing is, why am I I've had a really, really, really long weekend. If you don't know this already, if you'll get in the truck and sit in the passenger seat and look in front of you and just dream, if you were in a car right now, there's a trim panel in front of you that would look like a glove compartment door. In a truck, it's actually a trim pad, and if you'll take your penknife and just prise around it, it'll pop off. There's 4 grommet things that hold it on. Behind that is a label, and that's what the truck came from the factory with. It'll have the engine number, the transmission number, and the gear ratio. Now, that doesn't mean it hadn't been changed, but at least that's how it was built.
In 2 trucks, I have seen that component ID tag on the backside of the passenger
visor.
In most trucks, but it's on that panel behind there.
And because it's behind there, it's not faded. You can read it. But I would take pictures of that and have that information. If you have access to the truck, I'd crawl under it, and I'd make sure the transmission number on the transmission matches that, and the same with the rear end. And that way you know the components are original. And then we can take that and go to work. So,
because realistically, what you're looking at, if it does not have a cracked or broken frame, good to go.
Yeah.
And
I wouldn't put, I could care less about the 700,000 miles. That's meaningless, really. Yeah. That's not the reason to buy it. And if you pass on it, call us. Okay.
Yeah. I think Rocky's already planning the trip to go.
I'll send him a check tomorrow. So,
yeah, I mean, frame, well, of course, Zeke's frame's twisted up like a damn ice cube tray. and how many miles have we put on it? But that's one of those. That's one of those things you don't think to learn. Take a set it on flat ground, on level ground, and take you a tape measure and measure from the bottom of the frame rail to the ground on the left side and from the bottom of the frame rail to the ground on the right side, and see if it's like this. Because that's one thing we didn't catch on Zeke's truck. Rocky says, take it out his maintenance account. He wants it. Yeah, you'll have this truck sold by the end of the podcast if you're not careful. So
I would say nothing else about where it is.
Yeah,
okay?
just stop.
Because all over the country now, people are going through the thing. Pontiac, Michigan. Where? All these Google searches are going on right now for
because that was the target pre-2020. It's like, hell, if we could acquire a truck. Well, there's a truck in our fleet right now that Richie's driving that Larry bought sight unseen. The guy posted it for $10,000. Larry said, "Bring it to me," and handed him a check.
Well, the Volvo pretty much the same way. I mean, I went to get it, but I had the money in my pocket. I wasn't going to come back without it. So
right. But we have gotten better at it, at the process, the more we've done it, because I have certainly increased my knowledge of watching Carl go over a truck. It's taught me a lot about stuff to look for, but you can pretty much guarantee you're going to have to take it to Rocky or Chad or
Jim Fowler up there.
Jim Fowler.
Jim Fowler.
You're probably going to have bushings and torque rods and airbags.
You want to do that anyway,
Yeah. You're going to put all new shocks and rubber hoses and all that kind of stuff on anyway. We would just prefer to not have one deleted, because you're looking, $1,000 for an EGR valve.
It's $8,000. I can tell you what it costs. It's $8,000 to undelete the delete. Okay.
Right.
So,
so
now here's going to be the next question. Why do you want to do
that? Yeah. But again, that's I had an EGR cooler, a plugged up EGR cooler that came off of a truck. I took it to DPF Alternatives, and they've made that thing shine like a new penny for $250. So we have these great resources now where we can clean up a truck, an EGR truck, clean up the cooler, put a new valve on it, and run the catalyst in it.
If you run the catalyst, they guarantee their work for life.
Yep. Oh, he says it's not deleted. All right. Well, good dude. Write him a check tomorrow.
I'd already be over there.
Yeah, I'd be on the way.
It's just 9:00 in Detroit. I'd be there. Be knocking on his door. Hey, if you need a place to put that truck on at Landstar, I know a guy.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Anyway, let's see. I thought we had another.
We got all excited about that. Our voices raised, heartbeat went up, and
Rocky says we need more DOT officers doing inspections than we need armed IRS agents. I'll do without both. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I saw somebody that was all tore up about the 87,000 IRS agents thing. And I said, when's the last time the government ever told you the truth of what they were going to do with $80 billion? I tried to call the IRS a few months ago, and there's nobody there. So I don't know what the hell they're going to do with that $80 billion, but I promise you they're not hiring any agents. So, where's that? Did you get the EGR cooler from Western Branch? I did not. I need to go pick that up. Thanks, Phil. I'm going to make myself a note. EGR coolers. No telling what those idiots did with it. Okay. Back to your regularly scheduled program.
Well, we got a couple new. We're full. Our trucks are all got drivers. So we got a couple new drivers that we've just brought on that we're working with. We're excited about. And got one more coming. One more coming in 2 weeks. So appreciate everybody who's expressing interest, and that doesn't mean we won't have something in the future. But right now we got.
We could make a few of the current ones nervous and just say, that we're always open. You never know.
Oh, we might try to get this $10,000 truck put on with us.
Yeah.
we certainly can walk you through that deal. Okay,
Yeah.
have you a driver here in a couple months maybe.
Um, let's see. I was thinking, did we get an email question this week? I thought was on a different topic, and now I can't remember.
I don't know. I was gone a lot.
Yeah, you were gone, and I'm getting wrapped up in volleyball and cross country and kids sports, and it's never a dull moment
You
around
gotta
here.
get your
So
priorities straight, man.
yeah.
You're completely upside down. So
Okay, there's a good question. What percentage of drivers drop out of your program?
drop out. Well, I happen to have those numbers. Imagine that.
He's a numbers guy.
Let
He's
me
got a
just
number for
see.
everything.
Since we started the program, we've had 30 people enroll in the program. We've actually now we have 5 that have completed it, graduated. We have 5 that are in process. Now, these are not counting the new hires we just brought on. Okay, so that would jump up to 7 or 8 right now. Of those 30, 5 of those we terminated. 5 of them Landstar terminated. 11 of them dropped out, and 1 of them was an other. I really can't just explain to you exactly what that means, but it didn't fit in any of these categories. Okay.
He's going to have to tell me about that one after the show.
Oh, you know.
Yeah. Okay. It's not coming to me right now.
So we're at about I don't know, it's probably a 30% dropout rate, I guess. But here's the thing, okay? It's dropout's a funny word. You know, we warn people that becoming an owner operator is a lot different than driving a truck. Okay.
Oh,
and
yeah.
the beautiful thing about our program is they get to come and see the sausage being made before they spend the money, sign the lease, whatever the things are. They get to come and see what it's really, really like to drive a truck for profit as opposed for fun, and what it takes to make a profit driving a truck. They get to see that without it being their risk.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people come here. We had one just last week. A very, very nice person. Okay, young, but still very, very nice. But they just decided that being an owner operator wasn't what they thought it was going to be. You know, no hard feelings. There's no, we're still friends. It's not that. It's not that, it's not a negative thing. It's just that the realization that what it takes to drive a truck as a business versus driving somebody else's truck and not give a rat's ass what fuel cost. There's a big difference in that, and there's a big difference in the commitment and just the pressure to perform, and make a profit when it's your money. So they just come to the conclusion that, hey, I'm glad I put my foot in the water, but this water's way too hot for me. So I'm gonna go back and do something that I know I can do. So that happens, and we probably have less of it now because we're much more stringent in our recruiting, our vetting. Used to be that if we had a truck open and somebody wanted to drive it, we kind of let them get in the program. Now, if you've been in one of our interviews the last few months, you'll find out that sometimes you leave with bandages on, and because we make you aware of what you're getting into, before you make the commitment to do it. Because I mean, look, that's what we're here to do, is to flatten the curve of the 90% failure rate of people in this industry that buy a truck for the first time. So if we can get you here and let you see what that's like, and you decide on your own that, hey, that's not really what I thought that was going to be, then we saved you a lot of effort, maybe a bankruptcy,
Probably.
maybe, a lot of other negative things, because here you can leave with no strings attached, literally. So
We got Willie Williams in the house. Well, he says he feels personally called out that question. Hey, he posted it. So
Willie's a perfect example. Willie's a great guy. I mean, we love Willie, okay, and we also loved his little buddy that he brought along too. But they realized pretty early on, it didn't take a long time, that this was a lot more than what they thought. Just a lot
Hmm.
more than what they thought it was going to be. And that's not just them. A lot of people are that way. But here's the thing. Had Willie gone and bought a truck, or lease purchased a truck, and then come to the realization of that, look at the difference it'd have been between him just going home from here
Hmm.
and then having to undo all of that, you know. So it happens, and there's no hard feeling. There's just not a negative thing. I think Willie will probably tell you, he left here on great terms. Everything was fine. There were no problems. It just wasn't for him, you know. And
The whole reason that I started this podcast in 2015 was because I had to figure out everything on my own. There was no manual. There was no Blue Ribbon that I was aware of. Blue Ribbon existed at that time, but it wasn't in my universe. And I just thought, well, I can tell my story and I can give a glimpse into what this is like, the ups and the downs. You go, well, I told a hell of a story. But I wanted to help people, um, kind of bridge that gap so that at least, okay, well, here's what you do. You got to have this and that and the other. And then Larry and I get together and we've created this opportunity where you can come and, like you said, see how the sausage is made. And sometimes it smells really bad. And there's a lot of really, really can be very painful experiences that you have to go through. But that's what being in business is, regardless of what you're doing. Business can be very, very rewarding and very, very painful and very, very stressful. And so this gives a people an opportunity to look behind the curtain and go, "Oh my God, well, hell,
well,
I didn't know it was like that."
I've said it so many times. This industry is different in that, as a truck driver driving down a road for years and years and years as a company driver, and you think about all the things that you love your job, and you love to drive and you love to see things, but all the other stresses of the job, the dispatcher, the safety guy, the customers, a lot of things that you don't have control over. You think that the resolution to that is, if I had my truck, I could do it my way,
Mhm.
and I could change that. I would do it differently. But everybody that buys their own truck finds out that they can't change that. That everything that they hated about the people that they hated before, they now are that person. And so their ability to handle that and to change their own identity, and to grow, and understand that now that you bought this truck that's supposed to fix all your problems, guess what? You got to support that now. That truck now is more important than you, because it's got to be fed. It's got to be nurtured. It's got to be, and you can't just do it whenever you want to. So all these realizations come to you after you take the dive, and after you find out what the temperature of the water is, and you find out that, oh shit, now I know why the dispatcher wants me to do it this way, this way, and this way. I
Mhm.
know now why the fleet, controls our speed to 62 miles an hour. Because I see how much fuel costs now. So all these things that come to, and there's just no way of knowing that until you do it. But going back to the problem again, in this business, the problem, the answer to most people's problems, they think, is having their own truck. And in this industry, we make it so easy, because all you got to do is fog a mirror and hold the pen. They'll move the paper. And then now you're in a lease purchase, and you're paying triple for the truck what it's worth, with
Mhm.
nothing on your part that protects you. And now you're destined for failure, and 99% of the time. And now you're happy. I've said this all along. This is my conspiracy theory thing. Fleets have lease purchases to solve the driver retention problem. Okay, because now you're in a marriage you can't divorce from, and when you do finally get out of it, you're so happy to be single again, you'll never ever do it again. And so they teach you a lesson, your tail's tucked between your leg, and you're happy to be a company driver again, because now you're not losing money driving a truck down the road. and you're telling everybody don't ever do this because you can't make money as an owner operator, because that was your experience. So that's what we try to we offer an alternative here to doing it that way. First of all, let's do it the rest. Don't go buy a truck and go into debt. Come here, work, see what it's like, save some money, and then let's do this the right way the first time and not make all the mistakes that everybody else does. So anyway, my recruiting message.
Phil and Rocky are over in the Facebook comments trying to sell pay-per-views of our interviews.
We had to put those black bars across the eyes.
Yeah. Well, and Rocky brought this up, and it's some of it. The question should have been how many were unwilling to learn and change. Well, there's obviously some of that too.
Yeah.
Because obviously we have a business to run here. And there are some boundaries and there are some expectations and there are some policies and procedures. And like he said, there's 5 of those on there that were terminated, that were given the opportunity to go away. But that's just as much a part of, because if you're not willing to change, business will do it to you. The bankruptcy, the divorce, the foreclosure, the repossession, you're going to change, and I want to put this up here from Willie. It says, I'll be in contact for an OPS within a year. We'll be buying my own lunatic truck. The wealth of knowledge and truth at Blue Ribbon is priceless. I think it was mostly timing for him personally. I will take full responsibility for not being mentally ready yet. And then you got to be ready because, we hit you in the mouth pretty hard in the interview, because it's expensive to bring a driver on. It's a huge expense for us. And obviously there's an expense for you as well. You've got to leave your job and come over here and if you're not mentally ready to change your identity from that of a company driver, employee, slave, to that of a business owner that makes the decisions that a business owner would make with this guy. Because that's how we make decisions. We don't make them of emotion. We don't make them over feelings. Feelings don't come into it. I want to know what's the math. Did you do the math? Well, I want to do it this way. Okay, well, do the math and tell me that that's the best way to do it. That's going to be my answer. And,
Well, every other business in the country does business that way, except in this business. In this business,
right.
we have chrome shops, okay? We have truck stops full of stuff that people don't need, okay? And the only other business I can think of that would equal this was way back in the day when coal mines had script. You know what script is?
Mm-hmm.
You want to explain to people what that is?
Well, that was the company compensation that you could pay.
It was company currency.
The currency, and
you couldn't spend it anywhere else except at the company store.
Mm-hmm.
So we paid you in this. So that was about the only thing I think of is that you're going to work all week in a coal mine. We're going to give you company currency that you only have to spend in the company store. And guess what? It's priced exactly like the prices are in a truck stop. Okay, because you have limited resources and options.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the craziest. You've heard me say it before. There's so much potential in this business to make big, serious money if you treat it like a business. Okay. Mm-hmm. Somebody said something the other day about us. I think an agent or something said, "Oh, you're that Blue Ribbon Group. Y'all really serious about business, aren't you?"
Yeah.
I'm thinking about why would you make that comment? You mean you talk to other people who do business with you that aren't serious about business?
Yeah.
So, but
well, and I'm just going to say that was one of those foreign agents.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
A young guy. Listen, he's a young guy, a go-getter that's really fired up about finding freight for trucks. Said he hadn't. I think in the text he said he was only been doing this for a while, but he loved it. Lee says, I want to learn how to make a ton of money driving a triple-digit, long-nose 300 wheelbase Pete with my seat on the floor and my shifter on the ceiling. That reminds me of some years ago, somebody asked Darrell Waltrip, how do you make a small fortune in racing? And he said, start with a big one. Yeah. That's pretty much what you need. And you know, we've had drivers that have made some unfortunate decisions and mistakes, and Landstar has let them go. We didn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah.
But 366 days later, Landstar will let you come back.
Yep.
You know, and so the door remains open for, let's see, when is everybody that's been let go by Landstar? Yeah, I think
Probably.
everybody's.
Yeah, we haven't
Yeah.
had any serious thing. It just, it's just too much little stuff. Landstar, look, they're self-insured. Okay, Landstar has to CYA. The nuclear verdicts that are awarded right now. If Landstar can't prove that they didn't do everything they could to make sure that the drivers that we have out there, are vetted and safe. And if they let us get away with stuff, then when these defense attorneys gets them on the stand, they'll crucify them.
Yep.
So they have to just make it look, we're doing everything we can. And so because of that, sometimes we lose people for a year. One of them's on here right now that we hated to lose for a year, but hopefully he'll come back and he'll learn from it, and we'll go on. But that's just Landstar. We can't fix that. We can't control that. I'm not one of these BCOs that's going to turn around and try to fix Landstar, because it doesn't need to be fixed. All right. So we understand how what the restrictions are and what we have to work with, and that's what we have to do. So
well, I will say that I don't remember how I did this, but it was after I'd come to Landstar, and I know what it was. A friend of mine had asked me, well, do you know anything about Schneider's, at least, what do they call it?
Select
something or other.
something.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so I called a guy that I knew, and I said, can you put me in contact with somebody? I have a friend, and I'm an owner operator. And I said, I used to be at Schneider. And he goes, oh, well, what's your driver number? And so I remembered it, and I rattled it off. And he goes, did you know you're not eligible for rehire at Schneider? And I said, how'd that happen? So I can wear that proudly as a badge now, that I am forever not eligible for rehire at Schneider. I don't know why. I have no idea. I didn't tear anything up, so I may probably said something to the wrong person.
I'd say there's a lot of places we're not eligible for rehire after doing this podcast.
Yeah.
We're probably not going to be allowed to go into TA Petro.
Yeah.
So,
someone's asking thoughts on the new CDL guidelines. I'm assuming that's what's that? Entry level driver ELDT, entry level driver training. Thoughts, bunch of horse shit that doesn't mean anything. It's just a bunch of red tape nonsense. It's not going to do anything, and probably is only going to benefit 15% of the industry. And make a bunch of money for people that are in the know, with these trucking. Listen, I went to a truck driving school for 4 weeks. It was on the backside of the Nashville airport. They had 2 of those portable office buildings, portable classrooms set up in like 4 trucks, and they did a fine job, but the owner of the place, had 2 Corvettes and a couple of $10,000 dogs and an expensive cocaine habit. I'm sure in their mind they're trying to solve the CDL meal problem, but the training system is so fundamentally broken in this industry. This ain't gonna fix it. It's probably only going to make it worse, because generally that's, with the exception of IFTA, pretty much anything the government touches turns to shit. So,
it's like everything else they do. It's a feel good thing. Okay, it's to make somebody somewhere look like they're doing something to address a problem,
and a lot of money.
And so just follow the money. Okay, just smell the money. It works every time. No different this time. Okay. So, by the way, is this guy? So, if all I need is now the 2 Corvettes, and I'm good to go. Is that what you're trying to say?
I would avoid the cocaine habit.
Okay. Well,
because if I remember right, the trucking company shut down about 6 months after I left, and I asked, and I think I think there was something had to do with a bullet. I don't think that guy's with us anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, CJ popped in here. He says, I'm definitely patiently waiting my time. There's literally no better place than Landstar with the Blue Ribbon System. Well, we'll be looking forward to bringing you back just as soon as you cross that barrier.
We've had 2 former people here tonight seeing the guys. Checks in the mail. Okay, appreciate that. Now, CJ, we look forward to that. You know, we were all, you know, pretty.
We're just not going to let him drink any more tequila.
Well, that's not what caused him to get fired.
Well, no, that didn't have anything to do with him getting fired. Now,
no, but we had our company dinner up, and I hope he doesn't mind us telling us this, but
I'm gonna tell you anyway.
It's too late now, anyway. But we had our company dinner up at Matt's, the truck show in Louisville, and our dinner was on Friday night. And on Thursday night, we're all sitting at the bar in the lobby of the hotel, and CJ's doing double
tequila shots.
Double tequila
3
shots.
of them.
You know, CJ in wringing wet probably weighs about 90 pounds, I'm guessing. Okay.
Yeah.
So he ain't bigger than in a New York minute. And
we didn't see him the rest of the weekend.
He looked fine when we left him. Well, the dude never left his room from Thursday night to the following Wednesday.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, I mean, we were sending people up to his room with
Gatorades
and
yeah,
you know, trying to hydrate him, and dude had to go to the hospital, you know. But yeah, when you come back, CJ, no more tequila shots, okay? We're not doing that again. So, you know what?
Dave Thomas, probably not that Dave Thomas. Good evening, gentlemen. When switching from duals 295, 75, 22 5s to wide base single 445, 50, 22 5s, will I have to have the speedo recalibrated?
Yes,
I believe the answer is yes.
It's not that hard. You go into the ECM and it's a setting, and if you're going to use that size tire, your revolutions per mile is 518. So you change it from whatever it is in the ECM setting to 518. You're good to go. Okay. An easier way is just to look at the speedometer on your GPS. It works.
Yeah.
Regardless. But yes, it'll be 4 or 5 miles per hour off. That's what it'll be. So.
And if you're going to run duals, you have to run crossfires or cat's eyes.
Yes.
You have to. Because you're going to, whatever benefit you think, I'd never driven a super single until I came here, and I couldn't tell the difference until I started caring about tires, and then I realized how much I despise duals. I'll never own a truck with duals ever. They suck. They're terrible. I hate them with a passion.
Well, just this week, we bought a trailer. Okay, we bought a step deck trailer. So the driver runs over something. Anyway, we lose a tire, used tire. Okay. So we go to put a tire on it, and I don't know, Chris is thinking volleyball or something. And so I'm like, Chris, did you buy 2 tires? He goes, shit, I didn't think about that. I'm like, dude, you know?
Yep.
So you can't what's the advantage? Okay. If they're more than 2 or 3 30 seconds difference between the height of them, really you can't be any difference in the height of the two that are bolted together. They have to be exactly the same. So if you can't find a used tire that's exactly the same tread depth as the one that you had a hole in and replaced, you got to replace them both anyway. What's the advantage? You know, you don't have to have that problem with singles. You just have one tire to begin with. So you're never going to convince me. I'll never have a truck. Even the people who bring their trucks here for us to lease on and operate, most of the time we do everything we can to get them to understand that duals are old technology, need to go away. And yeah, we're in the flat. We have 2 platform trucks. I need to tell you, we have 2.
Well, and Dave's, and this is how you do it. You got a steal of a deal on a set of 4 Michelin X lines and aluminum rims coming off of 21 Cascadia. Because you find dumb people that think duals are better, and you can buy them for a steal.
You can sell your aluminum wheels for more than you'll pay for that single. Okay. Because there's a lot of people that have them and don't, they listen to the guys in the truck stop, and I've told this story many times, but when I had singles and I was driving, I'd be fueling up and somebody walk over to me, spit tobacco, and look at me and go, "Hey, your company make you run them things?" I'm like, "No, I put them on myself." And they just look at you like you're a Martian or something. So you got all these people that don't want them. So all you gotta do is sell them yours. And they'll pay you more than I used to get. Listen, there's a place. I'm gonna say this. I don't know if it's still there or not. Next to the Flying J in Indianapolis at Exit 4 on
I don't
I
think it's there anymore. I
I
think it
I
got
drove
taken out
by.
by that
I
highway
drove by.
project.
I drove by today. It's still there.
Oh, is it?
Whether or
Okay.
not they still do it, or not, I don't know. But there's a place there that sells used Pilot fuel trucks.
Mm.
Okay, fuel truck, and all those trucks have got singles on them because every tanker has singles because of the weight. All right, so you can go in there and you can walk around the lot, and he'll trade you your duals for whatever you find on the lot, even money. All you got to do is pay for the swap, the labor for
Mhm.
the swap, because they sell those to mainly farmers to use for grain harvest, and they don't want the duals. I mean, the singles. So that's where I got all of mine originally. Was I would go there, talk. I forget the guy's name, but really nice guy. Took me to lunch. Tried to sell me on religion, so I had to put up that a little bit, um, but anyway, I got every one of the sets, all the singles I bought for all my 4 trucks originally. I got them there, and got used tires to boot. You know,
Mhm.
so that's I would definitely do that. And somebody had another question about
26.50 for it. Dave, you ought to kiss that guy when you're done.
yeah,
I
really.
mean,
Put
he
him on your
deserves
business
something.
card list, yeah, good. Well, again, if you pass on that deal, let me know. Checks in the mail. Okay, so but yes. Now, you said X line. Okay. Well, make sure they're not grips. I mean, even if
Yeah.
they are, you're going to want to get rid of those. Make sure they're Line X Energy D. And I think somebody told me last week there's another model, a D plus, I think, or something.
Hey, Lee Byer, bless his heart, he doesn't know what's getting ready to happen to him. I'm gonna let you read this one because he's about to get tore up. Go get him.
I think single will be a safety issue for me because if I blow a single with a load wire than a lane now, I'm sitting duck blocking a row waiting to get hit because I couldn't limp to a safe spot. I'm not going there. Lisa,
Go
he's
get
trying
him.
no, he's trying to bait me. I'm not doing that. I know what he's doing. I'm not going for that. That's horse shit. Okay. So here that one's creative because he's a big heavy haul guy. Okay. So he eats nuts and bolts and spits them out for breakfast. Okay. But this excuse we get all here's the reason that people don't buy singles typically for that very reason. Well, if I have a blowout on the side of the road, I can't limp in with them singles. And so we do the math. As you know, we get the BSC 2000, 9,000 out. We do the math and we show, okay, I'm just going to quote this from my head, but the numbers are like the first year savings between rolling resistance on a pair of singles and most duals that are out there are about $5,500 the first year. Okay. So if you took the tires off of it and put them in a ditch, didn't get anything for them, and spent the money to go buy 4 singles and wheels, you'd still save $5,500 in the first year in fuel mileage, and you can afford to call a damn tow truck or even a tow truck or even a roadside service for $5,000 and get the damn thing fixed on the side of the road. Okay.
Yep.
And I drove for 12 years. Okay. I never had a steer blowout ever. You drove for 25 years. How many steer blowouts have you had?
Zero.
Or drive blowouts. I had one. I had one.
One.
So we're going to make decisions about everyday savings based on 1 or 2 blowouts in a 25-year driving record. So again, that's making decisions with emotion instead of business. That's all that is. Every time we can prove it's just bullshit. So
Now, as we know, what kills tires?
Underinflation.
Underinflation. So regardless, if you've got duals or singles and you don't have a tire pressure monitoring system on your truck, you're going to have a blowout because you're going to run a tire underinflated for however long, and it's going to blow up. Now, we did have 2 singles blow on the same truck in the same position within, what was it, 4 months of each other. But in both cases, I do not trust that the driver was monitoring tire pressure, because I just have to go on the numbers. The number of times that I have gotten one of our trucks and found the tire pressure monitor turned off, laying in the bunk, or had one that didn't even know where it was at. Well, where's it at? I'm like, it's on the dash. How can you not see it? Well, I couldn't see it. Now again, with Lee, he's doing heavy haul. I don't know that super singles are okay for heavy haul.
I don't even. I know nothing.
They might not be. Because you've got width of tire, and now Mike Beckett could probably tell us all that. But, and if you haven't, Mike Beckett's got all kinds of all the information on tires. But in our presentation that he did for us, he talks about how much the load rating is for the tire and the pressure and all that stuff. And he's forgotten more about tires than most of these fools can ever hope to know. Sean Fairman, will you ever buy into the DEF engine models? Yeah. We have one that we operate. We don't own it. We operate it. 2016 Cascadia DD15, manual 10-speed, 358s, I think. When we first got it, it had a bunch of problems. Yellow lights all the time, regenning all the time. We took it to Precision in Coshocton, Ohio. They did a diesel force cleaning on it. We've been running the catalyst in it, and ever since, knock on wood, we've not had any major problems. It's inevitable at some point. Either the state is going to make our trucks illegal. I don't think that's going to happen ever on a federal level. It's probably going to be New Jersey or Pennsylvania or New York or someone over on the East Coast that's going to make it impossible. But they are manageable now. The 15 and up models, 15 to 20. We have DPF alternatives. We have Pittsburgh Power and Catalyst. We have diesel force cleaning. But it's just a different sort of preventative maintenance that we have to do for the dealing with these trucks. But you got to keep them clean. If you don't keep them clean, there's going to be nothing but trouble.
That's the thing. We're using this as an experiment because, as you well know, 07s and older, they're getting harder and harder to find. However, I think we're going to get another little crop of them coming up later this year and early next year, as some of these owner operators, go tits up, and we'll be able to grab some that are out there. Now, most of them have been turned into hoochie vehicles, but we can unhooch them as well. I saw one the other day on Facebook, on the Columbia's group. Here was a beautiful Columbia. Okay, all right. Mm-hmm. Now he took the side fairings off and polished the tanks. Mm-hmm. Okay, moved the exhaust around to the sides. He took a perfectly fine aerodynamic truck and turned it into a money loser. But anyway, so if we have to keep going and buying trucks, I understand our model here. We have to get a truck that's cheap enough that our drivers can go pay cash for it, because we forbid people to go in debt to buy a truck. So right now that's impossible because these used trucks are 3 times what they're worth. So when the market straightens itself back out and 2016 and newer comes down to under $40,000, then that makes that a business model that works with the contingency that we take the truck and we get the diesel force cleaning done to it. We run the catalyst. We've changed all the sensors. We do everything. And now we have the DPF alternatives that can actually rebuild the one box if we need to. Yeah. So we have lots of options to not be reliant on the dealerships and the current technology to keep that truck operating. We don't have to do that anymore. We've found ways to do it on our own without using dealerships and OEMs. And so that as soon as it becomes feasible on a financial side, and that means the truck's got to be under 40 grand and be a 2016 or newer, then yeah, we'll start looking at doing that, you know. But I will tell you right now, if I can find an '07 or older with a with EGR only, that's not been deleted, I'll buy it anytime. I'll pay more for it than I will for a 2016.
Yeah.
40 grand.
Well,
So-
and here's the other kind of elephant in the room with the Cascadia and the T680 and the 387 Pete. And my 2017 Ram 1500. Okay, all of these bells and whistles that are made for driver comfort, are problematic, right? Because the inside of the truck, these old Columbias, it's fuses and switches. That's it, right? There's no computer module that makes the windows go up and down and makes the interior lights come on.
And the radio going off won't make the truck stop going down the road.
Right. And we've literally I've heard service people talk about there being a problem with the radio that shut the truck down, right? I mean, all this stuff, all these computer processors and stuff, and it's cool. Listen, I love my Ram, but I feel like it's a ticking time bomb. It's great. I can sit here at my desk and hit the button when it's cold and make it start, and I got all this fancy shit, but when that stuff goes bad, it goes really, really, really bad. And so even back to the 08 and 09 Cascadias, they had computer modules that turned the lights on, off and on. And so that's another problem you have to overcome in addition to the emissions problems. And so the Columbias, yes, they're loud. No, they don't ride good. They're hot when they're hot and they're cold when they're cold. But God, they're easy to work on. And that's what when I'm trying to haul freight to make a profit in business, I don't need all those bells and whistles. I need a truck that will go when I put it in gear. That's what I'm after. And so that's just going to be another extra layer, because when your air conditioner quits, well, is it on mine? I know it's one of, as you found out last week in our podcast, it's one of a few components. Well, what if it's a $2,000 module that won't turn the damn compressor on, and it's got all kinds of other stuff that doesn't work either. It's just something that I wish we could.
There's a good possibility that we could jump straight from lunatic trucks to electric. We could go around the DPF completely. So I know he's scratching his ass right now going, what the hell are you talking about? But I think there's potential that because the electric trucks are not going to be as expensive as these trucks. Okay. And so once they get out there and get the bugs worked out of them and there's on the secondary market, I think we could go straight from lunatic to electric truck and screw the DPF, so.
I'm not going to hold my breath on that one. I'm not a big believer in electric stuff.
Well, I'm not a big believer in the one box. Okay. So given the two, I know how to fix a motor. Okay. Electric motors, windings, okay, magnets and windings. So,
well, Sean says didn't know you could rebuild a one box. Well, you couldn't until here recently. Our local guy here, Chase at DPF Alternatives, I believe it's called Recore. And they can rebuild the insides. Now, what I have found interesting, and the parts manager at the Freightliner dealer and I were talking about this today. They know that there are manufacturing defects with these things. Something about welds underneath the bottom, things are cracking, and that you can go in the down here in Milton. They've got a welder that will go in and weld things on the bottom that does away with leaks or whatever it is. So,
now I have a favor to ask of you all. Okay, DPF Alternatives is a franchise. Okay, they're everywhere. Now you didn't hear this from them; you heard it from us. So call them and tell them you heard about their product from us, and that they should be on here as a sponsor.
Oh, there
Okay.
you go. I like that.
Remind them
I like
that
that a
we're
lot.
the ones spreading the damn news about them, that they're not spreading on their own. And you heard about their product from a couple of these lunatic guys, and they need to sponsor us and give them their information. Okay. So
Yeah.
do that for me, would you please?
No, Matthew's taking shots at my truck. There's a reason they're known to tick. Well, 90,000 miles of my lifters are starting to tick. So, is what it is.
It's built by a union, man. What can I tell you?
Easy now. You're really going to start to fight now. Okay. Well, hour and 39. Let me make sure there's no other questions that we haven't.
Rocky's putting together some kind of deal here on the
Yeah.
side. Rocky, we get a commission on this deal?
Yeah. Rocky's
Really
over
kind
here.
of we get some kind of over what am I trying to say?
I don't know. You've had a long weekend.
I have. And, there was bourbon involved this weekend. Not to the extent that you were involved with it last time you were in Chicago, by the way.
Yeah. Clarence says, it's pretty bad sitting here salivating over that beer Chris is drinking on a live, knowing that I can't have one sitting in my truck. Hey, listen, the fleet manager life is good. Not having to drive trucks all the time. It has its benefits.
All right, so let's do some business here. Pittsburgh Power, okay. OPS, we're a distributor. We'd love to have your business. Max Mileage, we're a distributor. Chris has the stuff in West Virginia. If you're a Max Mileage customer and you want to get a refill, take your jugs over there. We'll refill them. We'll save you about $20 a gallon by doing it that way. If you're not,
hang on a minute. I thought we weren't going to do that because of what a mess. Remember, we had that conversation about not doing refills.
We got to get rid of what you got. Okay, so
okay. Well, listen,
and
I have found that refilling.
If you're not an existing customer, we will send you a fresh gallon. Okay. He's bitching because he has to actually get out of the chair there and go do something. Okay, that's really what's wrong. All right. We don't have we don't really have an open seat available. But listen, if you've got a truck that you'd like for us to manage for you, find a driver, do all the work like we do, get a hold of us. More importantly, if you're currently a BCO and you're a little bit worried about the market and how things are going, you need some help trying to figure out what your cost per mile is and even understanding what that word means, get a hold of us. We'll set you up and talk to you. And if you want us to mentor you and help you get through this thing and get your business on track, if that needs to happen, let us know. We'll be happy to work with you and help you. So,
yep, we've got a couple of dispatch spots available. And listen, we got to get you guys looking at this accounting stuff. You got to know your numbers. If you don't know your numbers, you don't know how healthy or unhealthy your business is. And we've got that. We haven't really hit that as hard as we have the dispatch stuff. Obviously, we can increase your income. I can certainly do that because I am the trip planning ninja. But $1 saved is $1 earned. And if you don't know your numbers because you're not doing that entry, you got to get that stuff done.
Lunatic shirts, we got them on the website. They're in the store, Pete. So those of you guys that didn't come to the event, shame on you. But we have Lunatic T-shirts that are for sale in the store while they last. We're not going to there'll be a different one every year. That one, once it goes away, it becomes a collector's item. So get what's there and you'll have the original one. So,
and don't forget to order your Lunatic poster. My wife made these.
Yeah, absolutely.
Signed Lunatic poster.
There you go. So
probably costs more to ship it.
Put that up in your window, and we guarantee you won't get pulled over by the DOT. So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we've done enough damage for one night. We will be back next week on Sunday and the following week on Saturday because we'll be doing an orientation in Hurricane.
That is correct. That is correct. So,
well,
all right, guys. Thanks for. Oh, one more question. Do you know someone between Daytona and Jackson that can install an OPS? What? I don't know. Dave, we'll think about that, and we'll email you if we can come up with an answer there. Actually, Rocky might know somebody.
Well, that's what he's asked. He's asking Rocky.
Oh, he's asking. Okay, all right, good.
They're having their side conversation over there in our comment section.
Yeah, we need to send Rocky a bill, okay?
We need a commission.
Part of the airtime for this deal right here. So
yeah.
Well, we didn't plug Rocky. North Florida MD alignment. That's what Rocky. He used to be a BCO, and now he's an MD alignment guy, a damn good one. We used to always talk about Chad out in Kansas City till we met Rocky, and so now we've kind of just sort of drifted. Not that there's anything wrong with Chad, still a great guy, but Rocky's got. We have his truck, and we operate his truck as in the Blue Ribbon Fleet, and we send him all of our business now and recommend him. So if you guys need an alignment or any type of suspension work, get a hold of Rocky at North Florida MD Alignment. He's in the Jacksonville area. And I guarantee. Listen, we had a guy at the event. Rocky came to the event and aligned trucks there. We had a guy there that had been at 3 or 4 other alignment shops. Some of them were MD alignment shops, and they couldn't find his vibration. It wasn't 15 minutes, and Rocky found his vibration and fixed it there at the event. So the man knows of what he speaks.
Yep.
So give Rocky a call and let him help you out with your suspension problem. So with that, Chris, I'm going to say good night, and we'll see all of you guys next week on Saturday or Sunday, normal time, and get a hold of your DPF representative, DPF alternatives, and tell them they need to sponsor the Blue Ribbon Podcast, okay? And anybody else that you think would be a benefit. As long as we believe in their product. So we've turned down many because we don't believe in the crap that they do. So anyway, all right.
We'll see everybody next week.
Later, guys.